DC motor, we have armature conductors. I already explained you. A DC motor never be directly connected to the power supply because the armature conductor's resistance is very low, and one can easily understand that a standstill motor, because the rotation is not yet started, and if directly 220 volts is given to the conductor, since the resistance of the these conductors are very low, and it requires the torque production, it requires more current. If the more current, if directly connected to the power supply, what will happen? For the production of torque, it draws more current, which is harmful for the armature conductors. So a DC motor never be directly connected to the motor. There is a separate method adopted to run a DC motor in safe side. So I would like to explain about the starting methods of a DC motor. There I will take you to the starter. This is called a starter. We have three varieties of starter, since the self-excited motors are three varieties: shunt motor, series motor, and compound motor. So shunt motors are connected to the 3-point starters, series motors are connected to the 2-point starters, compound motors are connected to the 4-point starters. So what is the starter is going to do? It will starter when, suppose I'll take a 3-point starter, we will find 3 points L, A, F. Line is connected directly to the power supply, A is connected to the armature, F is connected to the field. So the current which is flowing through the magnetic field coil and armature coil is controlled by this starter. When we directly switch on the 220 volts of DC power supply, this starter doesn't allow the current directly flowing through the armature conductors, since you can see the studs, brass stud. So these are all the brass studs, and a handle is moving on the studs, and there is a electromagnetic coil which is called holding coil, and there is another electromagnetic field coil which is called overload relay coil. There is a plunger, temperature operated plunger is there for the safety purposes. These are all the safety equipments, safety coils, we will see later. So the handle will be moving on the brass studs, and all the brass studs are connected with a nichrome wire backside of this, so it will carry the resistance. Nichrome is resistant. So initially handle at the initial position, so that this handle is connected to all the resistance, high resistance position. After switching on the power supply, in order to move the motor armature in a safe side, so slowly, gradually you are going to decrease the resistance. When resistance is decreased, current flowing through the armature will be increasing. So like this, we will gradually decrease the resistances added into the armature circuit, so that the current will be gradually increasing in the armature current. So slowly the armature is going to rotate. Thus it is protected by the high starting current. A starter will limit the high starting currents. So when it reaches the electromagnetic coil, since the handle is carrying current, when it is attached to the electromagnetic coil, it will become magnetized and holds the iron piece like this. If we switch off the power supply, what will happen? It loses the magnetic property and releases the handle to initial position. So it is called holding coil, or no volt relay coil also we can call. Holding coil or no volt relay coil. And overload relay coil, suppose unfortunately if any short circuit occurs, it causes high starting currents, which when flowing through the high current will flow through the coil, and coil gets heated up. That temperature operated plunger is there. It is a tripping circuit actually. This plunger will act on the temperature. When heat taken by the plunger, then it will bend towards the tripping circuit and trips the power supply in the handle, and handle is going to come to the high resistance position, and the current is disconnected from the armature. So this coil protects the armature from the short circuit excess currents. So this is called overload relay coil. This is bimetallic strip, temperature operated bimetallic strip, and it will operate by taking temperature and bends towards the tripping circuit, and it will trip the power supply. This is about the construction of 3-point starter. When a motor is going to start, by means of starter only, it should be started. So we have 3 types of starters. 3 points are for the shunt motor, 2 points are for the series motor, 4 points. Here you can see 4-point starter, L, A, F, and one more additional terminal that is called neutral. It is for compound motor. Since everyone knows that compound motor consisting of shunt field winding and series field winding and armature. 3 windings are there, so it is operated by means of a 4-point starter. So every starter, the operating principle is same: handle, brass studs, resistive coil. So we'll move the handle in order to give the low current initially to the armature conductors. After rotating some extent, we'll gradually decrease the resistances and allowing more current to flow through the armature. Thus the rated rotation will start in the armature coil. That is about the starter.